Hello, I'm Dr. Jo Cravatta. Today, I want to speak with you about the basics of Ayurveda. I'm sure most of you have heard about Ayurveda, but sometimes not so sure about exactly what it is. So first of all, Ayurveda, the word, that actually means the knowledge of life. And it's for you to get to know who you are and what you need to be balanced. Each one of us is an individual with our different likes and dislikes and the foods we like and the foods that don't work for us and what our thoughts are like and our body types. And right, that's the beautiful nature of the whole entire world, is a great diversity among each and every one of us. And Ayurveda honors all that. So Ayurveda is based on some really wonderful, beautiful principles. Everything in yoga and Ayurveda is based on the 5 elements. The 5 elements are ether, air, fire, water, and earth. Now, what I think it's very important for me to be telling you is one of the reasons that I really, really fell in love with Ayurveda is how it so connects us physically, emotionally, mentally with our spiritual side, with our spiritual nature. That, to me, the underlying goal in Ayurveda is helping the person to remove any blocks that they may have for their spiritual well-being. So, how does that happen? Back to those 5 elements. In Ayurveda, the 5 elements all unfold out of pure awareness, pure consciousness, life force, whatever you'd like to call it. So I think of it as the commonality between the fingers in the hand, right, is the hand. All the fingers have in common that they came from the hand, if you think of it like that, the analogy. So all of the elements, it's not like it's actually air and fire and water and earth. It's the concepts that they stand for. So for example, air. It's not air. Air element has to do with movement. It's anything that moves. That we think of it like when the wind blows, the leaves move. Everything can move. Everything is going to be connected with that whole flowing energy of the wind moving things. So air element has to do with anything in our manifest creation, anything in our world that has to do with movement. It might have to do with thoughts moving inside of your head, food moving down through your digestive system, anything that moves. Fire. Fire really is transformation. We think of that when we digest our food, we use our digestive fire, and the fire, the fire transforms the food, whatever you've eaten, into its component parts. The same thing as if you have a campfire. You start off with the logs, the sticks, and it's going to transform those into ashes. So when we think of fire, we just want to think of transformational. Fire is transformational. It converts one thing into something else. Water. Water element has to do with fluidity. Fluidity. What better symbolism of fluidity than water? So inside of it has to do with all of the different fluids inside of our body, if it has to do with your saliva or interstitial fluid or your lymphatic system or the urine in your bladder, right? All the different fluids, but anything in our environment that has to do with something that's liquidy, that will have to do with the water element. Earth. Earth is structure and solidity. It's a thing that things are made up out of. Earth. Earth element. It's heavy, right? It's solid. Earth element. So inside of us, it has to do with our bodies. Our bodies are very much related to the earth element. In Ayurveda, we do think of these 5 elements, but much more common is it's how they combine with each other that make what's known as those 3 types. Perhaps you've heard about people having their Ayurvedic body type. So those 3 types, or we could call it dosha, D-O-S-H-A, that when we think of it, the wholeness of everything is all 5 elements. All 5 elements makes the whole. If we start looking at subcategories of these 5 elements, we start getting at pieces of the pie. So when you think of it, you can just think that the word dosha kind of just means a subset. It means pieces of the pie. So vata, V-A-T-A, vata dosha. Vata dosha is made up of ether and air. Because it's made up of ether and air elements, ether has to do with expansion or contraction. And air, as we said, is going to be movement. So, oh, the joys of being live at home with your dog. Yeah. So, vata dosha, ether and air element. It governs our nervous system inside of ourselves, and it has to do with any movement. But you think of it, the nervous system governs just about everything that happens inside of our bodies. The nervous system governs, obviously, our thinking process. It governs the underlying mechanism behind all of the different bodily systems. If it's going to be the digestive system, our urinary tract system, if it has to do with the heart and the beating of the heart, you wouldn't be able to contract any muscles if the nervous system wasn't sending the impulses to be able to do that. So the nervous system is very important. So we need to have a balanced vata, obviously, to be able to really have everything function well inside of our body. If it's the thinking process, or if it's the digestive system, if it's the functioning of your muscles, including your heart muscle, if it has to do with your respiratory system. Pitta dosha, P-I-T-T-A, Pitta dosha is made up of mostly fire and a little bit of water. Mostly fire. Fire is transformational. And a little bit of water. Water is fluid. So Pitta dosha governs all those transformational things in our body. If it's our digestive system, our metabolism. Metabolism is a very important thing. What is your metabolism exactly? Your metabolism is how we process and make energy in the body, how we utilize nutrients and allow every single cell to function. So we need a balanced metabolism. We're going to go greater detail about Pitta dosha in future talks. But for now, just to know all those things that are transformational inside of your body are going to be governed by Pitta. Kapha, K-A-P-H-A. Kapha is made up of water and earth. Water, fluidity, earth, structure. So we can look at the 3 doshas with every single thing that's in our lives. So our bodies, our thoughts, our emotions, different ailments we may have, but everything in your environment. So all the foods you eat, you can categorize according to Vata, Pitta, or Kapha, and how it will balance it. Right? It depends on how much of those 3 doshas, Vata dosha, Pitta dosha, Kapha dosha, it has to do with how much you have of those 3. Depends on how big your bones are. It depends on your metabolism. It depends on your digestive system. All the different things in your life is governed by what percentage you have of those 3 doshas. Vata, which was ether and air. Pitta, which is mostly fire and a little bit of water. And Kapha, water and earth. If someone doesn't have very much Kapha in them, let's say if their body type, their Ayurvedic constitutional body type, does not have very much Kapha in it. Now, everyone has Kapha. Everyone has Kapha because everybody has a body. Even have a body, with no body, you would be a no body. So everyone has Kapha in them. But there are some people with very little bones, right? You can always tell by the size of someone's wrist. Someone has very little bones. They don't have a lot of earth element in them. And they're going to have a smaller body. Now, their body could change and they could have certain things going on and they may have excess weight on them. And they may look as if they're bigger. I think of it as a Vata masquerading as a Kapha. Right? It's really sad, but that obesity is quite an issue, right, all around the world. I heard recently it was something like 30%, I think, of all adults in the United States are obese, and that doesn't just mean overweight. But it doesn't mean that all the people who have excess weight are Kaphas. It does not mean that. So people with the smaller bones are going to have more Vata inside of them. The medium-sized bones people are going to have more fire inside of them. They're going to have more Pitta inside of them. Means they're going to have a brighter, sharper digestive system. They might have a sharper mind. Kapha, they're going to be the bigger boned people. Some people you see like they really have really big bones. Their ankles are big and their wrists are big. So they might be thin. They could be thin. You might see their ribs. You might really see muscle definition, or not. They could be medium sized, or they could be, have excess weight on them. But it's going to be, you can tell by what's underneath all of that Like, how big are their bones? You can tell a little bit more. So we have our 3 body types, and the 3 body types make up, well, everybody's made up of either a Vata, Pitta, or Kapha body type, but most people have 2 influencing them. So for example, many people, I think of like a bell-shaped curve, that many people are Pitta. And then it lessens out, right, as you go through that bell-shaped curve. So the majority of people are Pitta, but then you have them combined with Vata, making a Pitta Vata person. Like, for example, I'm a Pitta Vata. You could have the combined with Kapha, and the person would be a Pitta Kapha person. So as it gets down, right, it's like you could be equal Vata and Pitta. You could be equal Pitta and Kapha. And then as you get lower down into that bell-shaped curve, for someone to be mostly Vata with just a little bit of Pitta doesn't happen very often. It happens. It doesn't happen very often. You have the majority of people being either mostly Pitta or a combination of Pitta Vata and Pitta Kapha. And then for the people who are mostly Kapha, very, very rare, very, very rare, right? There's someone who's going to be like mostly Kapha. It happens. It happens. But it's more likely someone would be like a combination of Pitta and Kapha, or that they would be right, a little bit more Pitta than Kapha, or equal Pitta and Kapha. I'm in my practice, and I've seen tens of thousands of people. I've lost track. When it got to be like over 50,000, I lost track. Right? Can even count up to 50,000. They need a calculator for that. That I've never seen someone who was Vata Kapha. I thought maybe once earlier in my practicing years. I've been practicing Ayurveda for numerous decades, that I thought maybe, but no. They're the exact opposite, right? Vata is made up of ether and air, and Kapha is made up of water and earth. They're the exact opposite. Except they're both cold. And so it doesn't happen in the body type. Not that I've seen. Now, as I told you before, that a Vata could masquerade as a Kapha, right? Someone could have littler bones, but have a lot of excess weight on them. You could have, someone could be confused by that. So let's say there's an Ayurvedic practitioner and the person comes in, and yeah, the person has a lot of Vata qualities to them, right? So what is Vata, right? Think of Vata is cold and quick, light, dry, unstable, irregular. It's rough. It's changing. Many, many different qualities of Vata. But it's quick. So someone with a lot of Vata or a Vata imbalance might do things quickly. They move quickly. Unless they really have an issue and they're fatigued or something. But their mind goes fast and quick, and they go boom, boom, boom. Someone with a lot of Vata in their body type or with a Vata imbalance, they're going to be like finishing your sentences for you. Right? Have you ever had someone do that? That person probably is. Do you do that to people? That just means there's a bit of Vata going on. Now, any excess weight someone has on them looks more Kapha-like. Have you ever taken those body type questionnaires where they ask you certain things about yourself? Like, what is your digestion like? How is your bowel movement? How is your sleep? Things like that, these different questions. That you answer those questions mostly by what your imbalances are. it's pretty difficult to have a really accurate understanding of your Ayurvedic body type by those questionnaires. You can kind of figure it out. At least what it does is it lets you know which of the 3 doshas you need to put more of your attention on. But it can make someone think there's something that they're not. So, just to know, just remember when you're trying to figure out, you take one of those tests, what your Ayurvedic body type is. Perhaps you fill out the questionnaire as you are today. But then maybe you also fill out the questionnaire how you were when you were younger. Right? A lot of people, when they're 20 years old or so, many times people could be closer to their ideal body weight, their thinking capacity and their memory, and right, it's like usually someone is a little bit more accurate about who the person is. So I suggest you fill out, if you take one of those body type questionnaires, mind body questionnaires, do it twice. Where you are now and how you were when you were a young adult, because that is really going to help you figure out what your imbalances are, at least. Right? You take it those like as if it was those 2 different times in your life. And you go, wow, look at this. When I was 20, I used to fall asleep very easily, and I stayed asleep. And now it takes me 20 minutes to fall asleep. I wake up 2 or 3 times, and I might stay awake in the middle of the night. Right? You see that you answered differently. What this does, at least for you, is it lets you know which dosha you need to put more attention on. It lets you know that vata may not be balanced inside of yourself. So let's talk a little bit more about vata dosha. I just gave you a nice basic understanding of Ayurveda. Of course, we could go on and on for hours about the basics of Ayurveda and the times of day and the seasons of the year, the 6 tastes, all those things. Wonderful topics. And perhaps in future talks, I'll talk about those things. But today, I want to go in a little bit more detail about vata dosha. Vata dosha. Some people will call vata dosha the king dosha. The king, why not the queen dosha? I'm not quite sure. But when I was studying Ayurveda, many people would call it the king dosha. Why? It kind of rules the other 2. And why? Because vata dosha is made up of ether and air, and vata has that movement, and vata can push the other doshas. Push them out of balance. So for anybody, whatever their body type, it's very important that you have a balanced vata. But what I have found is that it's the most easiest one not to be balanced. Why is that? Because it's the most delicate one. It's made of the ether and air. There's no oomph to it. You think of like kapha. Kapha has that oomph to it. Kapha has that steadiness to it. It has that earthiness to it. It has that stability about it. Vata is made up of ether and air. Much more easily not balanced. Much more easily not balanced. Again, vata dosha, ether and air, it is cold and quick. Quick means fast. It's light. It's ether and air. It doesn't weigh very much. It's unstable. It doesn't have much earth in it. It's unstable. It doesn't have any earth in it. It's made up of ether and air. It's not stable. It's irregular. It's irregular. It's dry. It's dry. Ether and air. Think of yourself. Let's say you go to the ocean, and it's not a moist day, and you're just standing there. It's really windy. Or you go on the top of the mountain, and it's really windy at the top of the mountain. It will dry you out, right? You'll feel it on your skin, that you may be feeling that you're becoming a little dry. It's because wind blowing, wind, vata, dry. So that one of the qualities of vata is dry. It's dry. So vata dosha, cold, quick, light, dry, unstable, irregular. It's rough. So vata dosha governs the nervous system. Those things I just mentioned, cold, quick, light, dry, unstable, irregular, rough, changing, will increase vata inside of you. And when that gets aggravated inside of you, it's going to aggravate your nervous system. So people who tend to worry is a vata state of mind. Busy thoughts, thinking, jumping around, thinking in your thoughts. Perhaps the memory isn't as good. Perhaps one gets forgetful, right? You're in the kitchen and you think, oh, I need to go into the other room, and I need to go get my notebook. But between here and there, like, you forgot why you're going to the other room, right? Because all of a sudden your mind, you're thinking, the mind is active and busy and it jumps around. That's vata. Multitasking. Doing two things at once. Eating and reading email. Talking while eating. Talking on the phone and looking at your computer screen. Doing anything, two things at once, is very vata aggravating. And what happens is, these habits that we get of doing two things at once, what happens is that with time it gets accumulated. When we're younger, perhaps it doesn't really matter. I don't know. But you think of like things like ADD and just someone being kind of antsy and hard to settle down. It's like, those things can show up as in a child. A child can start having a vata imbalance. You don't have to wait until you're an adult to get a vata imbalance. Also, you can inherit a little bit of it from a parent. So if one of your or both of your, everyone has vata imbalances, that if someone, right, could have come into a family, like it's almost like you kind of, it's passed down. These imbalances can be passed down. What form of a vata imbalance it is. So we can subcategorize vata, pitta, kapha, each with 5 subdoshas. So the 5 subdoshas of vata are pranavata in the head, udana vata in the chest, neck area, samana vata in the stomach, apana vata in the abdominal area, and vyana vata that goes throughout the whole body. It has to do with circulation. So if somebody's getting an active, busy mind and aggravating their nervous system because they're multitasking, They aggravate pranavata. Prana, pranavata. Think of pranavata as kind of like a little subset of big P, prana. Like perhaps if you've ever gone to yoga classes and all that, you've heard about prana, Prana, prana with a P, big P. That prana has to do with life force. It has to do with right, that flow of energy throughout us. Think of it as kind of like chi. That so we want the flow of prana within us. We don't want an imbalanced flow of prana in us. And so pranavata, usually we think of pranavata as in the mind, in the head, but it really has to do, it goes throughout the whole entire body. It has to do with the intelligence inside every single cell. But multitasking is going to aggravate pranavata. This is why doing something calming and soothing, such as doing yoga every day, doing breathing techniques, meditation, praying. We want to have quiet time, because quiet time is kind of like the opposite of multitasking. Right? When you have an imbalance, you do the opposite, and then you bring in balance, basically. So every single day, each one of us should have time where we sit quietly. If you don't exactly know how to meditate, like, there are plenty of certain things on the internet for meditation. On my website, shaktiveda.com, in the shop part of it, I have my Awaken Within Yoga DVD, which is a wonderful, wonderful DVD that has a restorative yoga pose for each chakra. So, for example, the root chakra. When someone has an active, busy mind, and could be because they've been multitasking, or flying on an airplane, going fast through the air, airplane, vata plane. So going fast, right? Quick, cold, quick, light, dry, unstable. Right? That going fast through the air on an airplane is really vata aggravating. It doesn't matter if your body type is vata, pitta, or kapha. It's going to aggravate your vata. So that throws off the root chakra. We'll go into more detail about the root chakra one day. But doing the root chakra pose on my Awaken Within Yoga DVD is really calming and balancing. So do something every single day where you don't have the television on, you're not on the computer, you're not on your cell phone, you're not on Instagram. Oops. You're not doing something, you're not whatever social media thing that you like, and you just be. You be for a few moments. That calms your mind. That calms your nervous system. That calms vata dosha. Why do we want to have a calm vata dosha? Because it has to do with your ability to think clearly. It has to do with your ability to be able to feel peace inside of yourself. It has to do with your ability to make right decisions. It helps balance your emotions. But also, it helps you physically. A balanced vata dosha will help you to digest your food better. You think of it, if you're always kind of antsy, right? A little nervous, a little full of angst or whatever, you can't digest your food well. We digest our food with the parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, that's vata. And when you sit down to eat, you want to be calm so that you can digest your food well. You want to turn on that parasympathetic nervous system. It also helps the whole the whole gut, right? The whole thing about the microbiome. We're hearing more and more about microbiome inside of us and how it affects our immune system. Something like 70% of your immune cells are in your gut. Pretty amazing. But if your vata is really off, if your digestion is off, if your vata is off, it's going to throw off your microbiome. Eat whatever you want, right? Right? That you think will help your microbiome. But if the foundation of what's going on inside of you is not balanced, in the end, it's not really going to help you as much as it could. Take the time to sit quietly, close your eyes, say a prayer, and then eat your food. Your whole body will benefit by doing that, and your nervous system. And your nervous system. You'll sleep better at night. You'll have a better bowel movement when you wake up in the morning. Ideally, if your vata is balanced, one would wake up and have a bowel movement within a few minutes of waking up. Not needing to have a cup of coffee to go have a bowel movement. Now, some people find they wake up and they have a warm cup of water and some hot water, maybe put a little lemon in it. That will help you to have a bowel movement. But ideally, you would wake up and be awake for a few moments and have your bowel movement. That's if vata is fairly balanced. Doesn't matter what your body type is. So, sitting and eating calmly will help your mind. And sitting and eating calmly is going to help you to sleep better. Sitting and eating calmly is going to help your microbiome. Sitting and eating quietly is going to help you to have a better bowel movement when you wake up in the morning. I think of like all the children who wake up and they don't have bowel movements in the morning before they go off to school, and then they don't want to have it in school. So, cold foods will aggravate vata. Dry foods will aggravate vata. How many chips are you eating? How much popcorn do you eat? Pretzels, crackers. Warm, moist food will help you to digest your food better, and it's calming and balancing the vata dosha. Having hot cooked cereal in the morning instead of a cold dry cereal. Cold dry cereal. I mean, maybe it's okay in a pinch or if it's really, really hot outside, but it's not something that one should do on a regular basis. Even toast is dry. Okay, you might put something on top of the toast. Some wonderful vegan butter and jam or almond butter. It's still dry underneath it. Okay, if you have a hot beverage with it, it might help. But we need to be thinking, what are we doing on a regular basis? What can we do day to day, moment to moment to help balance our vata dosha? Paying attention to warm, moist, well-cooked foods. Raw salad is rough. Remember we said cold, light, dry, rough. Rough, too much roughage is going to aggravate vata. And it's going to aggravate the vata in your abdominal area, that apana vata. Doesn't mean that you can't have it, but if you have any issues, if you have a lot of gas, if you have bloating, if you aren't having a good bowel movement, some people miss days of having bowel movements. Oops. Then no raw salads for you, no crackers for you, no chips for you. You can have those things moderately if you're having a good digestion. But in the wintertime, when it's colder outside and And Vata is more prevalent because it's colder and it might be windy. Those things just don't work. They're going to aggravate anybody's Vata. Doesn't matter if they're a Vata, Pitta, or Kapha in their body type. Make sure you have a regular schedule, eating regularly, meaning breakfast, lunch, and dinner approximately at the same time. Going to bed on time. Ideally, Ayurveda says by 10 p.m. You will sleep deeper if you go to bed by 10 p.m. Because we have the whole times of day thing, right? Governed by Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So going to bed by 10, you're going to sleep much deeper. Sleeping, speaking of sleeping, I want to tell you about a few products that we have. Our Calm Within herbal tea, but it also comes in capsules. Our Calm Within is really lovely to have in the evening before going to bed. It's very nice. It makes a nice chai like of a thing where you can have, you can add a sweetener of your choice and a plant milk of your choice and make a lovely tasting chai if you'd like. You can have it any time of day. You tend to have, a bit of Vata going on. Great for the digestion as well. It's like a very full-bodied tea. We have our Peaceful Heart tea, which is definitely one of my favorites. Also, it comes in capsules. So you could take this any time of day. Very nice in the late afternoon. Sometimes people are feeling their Vata a little frazzled from the day. This is really nice and also very nice in the evening. And then our Serenity Within Nasi oil. And this is something, put 2 drops in each nostril. Very nice in the evening. I highly suggest that you have a bedtime routine. And what would that bedtime routine be? That you take either the Calm Within or the Peaceful Heart tea or capsules. That you use the Serenity Within Nasi oils. You lay down, you put 2 drops in each nostril. You do the root chakra pose on the Awaken Within yoga DVD. And you would be in bed by 10 p.m. And then you can have a really nice sleep. Nice, deep, long night's sleep. After a while, if you keep on doing this routine, it will help your entire Vata, whatever might not be balanced inside of you. Now, those of you who have a bit of insomnia, you might need to do this regular routine very regularly for a while so you can bring that Vata down, bring the Vata down, bring the Vata down so that you will be able to sleep really, really well. That it's not something like Vata is not going to go away in an instant, that you need to pay attention to it on a daily basis and do these really wonderful healing things. Like I said, a nighttime routine. Each and every one of us should have a nighttime routine. Having that little bit of quiet before you actually go to bed so you can unwind from your day so that you don't have to be lying in bed unwinding from your day. It was definitely my pleasure chatting with you about the basics of Ayurveda and Vata dosha. Please let us know if you have any questions. Definitely look at the wonderful different Ayurvedic herbal products, organic Ayurvedic herbal products that we have on our website under our shop. And I'm wishing you all the very, very, very best and a wonderful night's sleep tonight. Namaste.